Over the last decade, Birmingham City has been gasping for air, trying to survive. 8 consecutive seasons in a championship in which they failed to finish higher than 17th each time. Birmingham City's relegation to League One has been the most inevitable event in the last decade in the EFL. Something so inevitable that almost the thought to them going down is seemingly impossible. Similar to the likes of the idea of Everton going down. The last 3-4 years for Everton, it feels like they're too big to go down. They would never be in a championship. Well, the same feeling has been said for Birmingham City. The tale of this season has been a tale of disruption and absolute chaos ever since Wayne Rooney was appointed manager earlier in the campaign, tasked to be bringing a brand of no-fear football as replacing the previous manager, John Eustace, that at long last brought a feel-good vibe to the club. He was liked by the fans and he felt like he was at home. So by sacking him when they were placed 7th in the table was a risky play. And did it work? No. Clearly, as Vizeh was only there for 15 games and was inevitably sacked, and 4 more coaches took his place to the end of the campaign, where they inevitably ducked their heads down to the 3rd tier of English football. A story featuring mysterious Chinese owners for 13 years that no one knows and no one's seen, leading to a new American ownership including Tom Wagner and a big face that you may have seen, don't know if you heard of him, Tom Brady, taking the face of the club. Despite all this, Birmingham City's 13-year spell in the championship is over. And let's talk about it. Tell me your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm looking forward to going into this. I do personally quite like Birmingham City. I know quite a few mates there, and I actually did a football manager save with them back in 2019. That may be a dumb reason to like a club, but I think their badge is cool too. All around, I think the fans are great, and it is really sad to see them go down, unless if you're a Villa fan, or West Brom fan, a Wolves fan, basically anyone in Midlands. Comment down below, 5,000 likes would be amazing, and also subscribe if you are new. Vizeh Designs, my own football design company, link down below, top of description. I've got tons of Birmingham City prints as well. Of course, Cadiz, Obafemi Martins, Jude Bellingham, Zigic, Carter. I've got a lot of variety, so go and check out my Birmingham City prints if you are Blue Nose, or any other club. I cover the entirety of any 2 non-league and quite a lot, if not all, Scottish clubs too. I'm really proud of it. So link down below, use code BCFC for 15% off. And let's get into it. Birmingham City has quite a strange history, that even some of the most happiest moments of their recent years came with sadness at the same time. Of course, the Carling Cup final win against Arsenal, including the Obafemi Martins winner from the absolute calamity of Chesney and Koscielny. That win, by the way, made it their 2nd ever major honour in their entire club's history, with only 2 League Cups under the name, unless you want to count the Football League trophy, which I don't. That's their only major honours. It was a massive moment for the club. However, in that very same season, they also got relegated from the Premier League. So in their potentially greatest ever campaign in 2010-11, they also had one of the lowest moments in their club's history. They just can't seem to enjoy anything good. How about their stadium that was falling apart for many seasons under the complete rejection of their Chinese owners that no one really knew who they were, and for many years allowed it to fall apart, in which the entire bottom tier of the stadium was out of bounds. If you saw basically any game, there was nothing there, not even any seats most of the time, for about 2 years, until inevitably from the new owners they finally got that sorted out and it looks like a stadium again. That alone for me is insane. Imagine your club's ground where about half the stadium is just completely written off. It's just incredible. And to kind of conclude my starting point here, the most Birmingham City thing I may have ever seen is that on April 9th, the club came out with these new plans to build a brand new stadium. Their owners completed a purchase of land in the east side of Birmingham, with the Birmingham City Council confirming plans to build a world-class stadium and training ground. This could make some sense after the years of problems with their current ground, St Andrews. One of the previous mysterious Chinese owners sold St Andrews to themselves. That led to another entire range of problems. Build a new stadium. How big is that stadium? Well, St Andrews is 29,000, okay? That's already a decent sized ground. Back in 2006, there were plans yet again of a new stadium, which had a idea of 55,000 capacity, which again, going out of League One is potentially not the best times to release these plans. After a decade of disappointment and a feeling of stagnation and just being stuck in reverse, Birmingham City fans finally have a bit of hope in this season with brand new owners with some aspirations of building a new stadium, caring and investing into the club and the community. These are all very big steps forward, so it makes it even more Blues to get relegated in the same season where they had the most hope. The new American owners is a company called Nighthead, led by a man called Tom Wagner, which Tom Brady, may have heard of him, is also a minority shareholder too. You may have seen videos around of their owner Wagner going around the ground before the game, where people may not like Americans too much in English football and will obviously call it a cringe. These are common words that you see about, but I think it's just Americans being passionate. Involvement of Tom Brady, people may be asking, what is he actually doing there? Is he just a face and to kind of promote the club brand-wise in the States? Well, he has had some sort of involvement in the background. According to reports, he's been involved with a nutrition and recovery level athlete information that he can maybe offer some advice and expertise on. The owner, Tom Wagner, has made himself quite well known and going around the grounds, meeting the fans, going to the pubs and buying everyone drinks. A typical positive things you want to see from your owner. He's there, you can see his face, and even when it's going bad, he's still there too. And in terms of an owner, people may not like Americans, but at least he's there. It clearly looks like he cares, and that's really all you can ask. They did actually go on to beat Norwich City at home on the final day. Unfortunately for them, all of the three other teams also in the running to go down in Plymouth Argyle, Sheffield Wednesday and Blackburn Rovers all won as well. Something that can only be ever done in the Championship, where all four teams on the final day to go down all won. It's a beautiful Championship thing. Even Rotherham won 5-2. Rotherham. Birmingham City is widely known for always staying up and showing up when it really matters. The most famous example is Paul Caddis beat Bolton Wanderers back in the 2013-14 season, where being 2-0 down in the 76th minute to Bolton away, who were a mid-table side at that point, and coming back with a 78th minute goal by none other than Zigic, and the man Paul Caddis with a 93rd minute equaliser, and that one single point in the scenes that followed was enough to keep Birmingham City back in the Championship. And they went on to repeat this year in, year out. Of course, nowhere near as traumatic as 13-14, but with two 10th place finishers back in 15-16 and 14-15, they had 8 years in a row where they finished no higher than 17th, 19th, 17th, 20th, 18th, 20th, 17th, and of course this season 22nd. Repeated non-stop chaos, and when it mattered in the end of the season, they always got enough points to be up, and this wasn't by many points most of the time. The last 8 seasons, by the way, their points totals has only varied within 7 points in the last 8 years. I don't think you know how long 8 years is in football sometimes. For example, Luton Town 8 years ago was playing in the conference, okay? Luton Town was in the conference 8 years ago. Now they're in the Premier League. Let's talk about the manager. More specifically, the sacking of Eustace to bring in Wayne Rooney. This seems to be the massive issue of this particular season, and what many people deem as the turning point, which makes complete sense, as Eustace was a fan favourite at the time. Of course, not a legend by any means, but he was well liked by the club and seemed to have a pretty good bond with not only the players but the fans too. 11 games into the season, back-to-back wins, and they were in the playoffs at that stage. So it was quite disastrous to sack him and then bring in Wayne Rooney. By the way, if you didn't know, Eustace is now at Blackburn Rovers, who of course won on the final day to keep them up and send Blues down. Football has its way of writing some interesting scripts. Under the new ownership and the technical director at the time, they wanted to bring some new no-fear football, as they labelled it, bringing in 12 new players over the summer. And big names such as Wayne Rooney to go alongside the new American ownership would make it feel like a brand new era for the club, an exciting one at that. And this was of course met in the wrong way completely. And this is not the first time this has ever happened, by the way. You may have heard of a man called Gianfranco Zola. Well, what if I told you that he actually was manager at Blues at one stage? Something that I completely forgot, and many Blues fans would also like to forget as well. Back in 16-17, Gary Rowett at the time was sacked, with Blues in a pretty good spot by Christmas. He was sacked for Gianfranco Zola, a big name with a lot of exciting feelings about it. Wow, we got Gianfranco Zola here, there's an aura about him. Now, unfortunately, as we've learned in recent years, this season especially, that just because you are a big legendary player or you got a very talented career doesn't mean that you're a good manager. And yes, back in 16-17, of course Zola came in, they went down the table and was almost relegated until he was sacked with 3 games to go, with Harry Redknapp coming in and saving them from going down. You would have thought they would have learned their lesson. They didn't, and they paid the price. So what went wrong with Rooney? Well, you can see this photo here of him slouched up against the wall inside the club's grounds, and you can see that it was getting to him. From his own words, as he said on the Stick to Football podcast with Gary Neville and the Sky Sports Boys, he said, "The Birmingham fans didn't accept me from day one. Eustace did a good job, Birmingham made a change, and he knew straight away he wasn't accepted by the fans. He tried to change the play style immediately and way too quickly for what the players can handle. This obsession of a high tempo, high pressing, no fear football, which is labelled again and again and again, wasn't ready. Eustace, he set up Blues to play a much more cautious, less impactful style and tried to really take advantage of their strengths. Their fitness was also a big part of it. They tried to improve the fitness levels, with Rooney and his staff having a sort of mini pre-season, and the players couldn't cope with that much damage to their body week in, week out. And when it comes to match day, they were fatigued. So after those 15 games, which brought 10 points from a possible 45, Birmingham, who were in the playoffs, are now in 20th place. Rooney, of course, was sacked. Tony Mowbray came in, who's actually quite a popular name in the EFL and is very experienced too with his time over at Blackburn and then Sunderland. Unfortunately, Mowbray had to depart because of illness. This took him out for the entire length of the season, where Mark Venus, their assistant manager, came in, didn't want the role, and therefore leading to old friend Gary Rowett, who came back to try to save the club. All of this comes together as a complete mess, and the constant disruption of new owners with new ideas, with a new manager with completely different styles of play and completely different messages. It's too much for the players to handle, especially as many of those players were also quite young themselves and inexperienced. But where does the fault lie? Well, it has to lie with the ownership. Despite their big plans and big ideas for the club, it all felt like self-harm in the end, where they relegated themselves by making poor decisions in the background and expecting the players to do too much too fast. Disrupting the coaching, and by the end the players had little to no confidence. Now, in terms of Blues looking for any sort of positivity, well, being in League One can be a blessing or a curse. The blessing is, for me, the more likely option here, as the owners are clearly aspirational and they clearly want the club to succeed, and from what it seems, will do it at any means necessary and may have to make some mistakes along the way. However, going out of League One may lead to an opportunity to reset and hopefully may bring some more life and some more hope back into the club. Winning some games of football is always a good way to do that, and you would like to think they would win more games in League One than what they will in the Championship, and they will potentially have one of the best teams in the division likely and one of the highest finances as well. The likes of Pompey and Derby going up, and it's now between Bolton and Oxford, but if Bolton goes up, it's looking like a much more favourable League One to be in next season, as teams that went down with them are Huddersfield and also Rotherham, who won't be easy by any chance, but it could be a lot worse in terms of the opposition. Maybe this could be a good reset for them to really try to bring the club together, let go of the ghost of their past almost, and to finally move forward and actually win some games of football. And I think this is a good chance for that. Tell me your thoughts down below in the comments. Again, I do quite like Blues, not only because they are a top seller of my prints, but I do know quite a few mates over there as well, and they're good lads. So I hope you guys do actually go up next year. Comment down below, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.